Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Robert Strand, Executive Director of the World Water Film Festival. Thank you for joining us for a discussion with different types of storytellers highlighting water issues, crises, and solutions across Latin America. We have with us Robert Prus, Senior Program Advisor of Water as Leverage and Partners for Water at the Government of the Netherlands, Candelaria Lucero from WaterAid Colombia Program, Roberto Urzúa, filmmaker of MAPU KUTRAN from Chile, and Kaira Fuentes, Syracuse University Environmental Finance Center and co-producer for Water Quality in Las CURIAS, Puerto Rico. Hopefully my French training helped me pronounce those Spanish titles close to as accurate as possible. I'd like to invite you all to take a moment to introduce yourself, tell us where you're from and what you do a little bit, and preface this with meaning that we're talking about the importance of film in relation to communicating stories. I think we all recognize that we can be pummeled by science and data and statistics, and sometimes it's easy for people to be overwhelmed by data and numbers and scary stories that kind of can make us immune to some of these issues and feel almost helpless to a point of inaction. And I think the power of film and the creativity you have all used with film has helped move the issues around water into an emotional plane that becomes a personal place, which helps us see that we can make a difference, and that maybe there is an opportunity for us to inspire people to connect with various water issues around the world, in particular in Latin America, and identify themselves hopefully as a water advocate or champion, more like. So I'm going to go in order of my screen here, and I'm going to ask you, Robert, to introduce yourself. Robert Prus.
Thank you. There are quite a few of Roberts on this show, of course, today. And thank you for having me. My name is Roberto. I work as a senior advisor at the government of the Netherlands. And what I find very inspiring of this week, and also kicking off the New York Water Week and kind of also the United Nations World Water Conference that's taking place in New York this week, is to start with something so vital, which is communication, which is connection with people. And I think the importance of communication, the importance of film, and the potential of film also to move away from seeing water as a technical issue into something that's so near to us, that's so spiritual, that is so vital for our daily lives. I think film and communication plays a key role in that. And for me, as a government representative, I think it's very much necessary also to connect with those worlds that maybe not close to my daily work, but can be vital in my daily work in also communicating the story. I'm responsible for one of our key programs in Colombia, which is called Water as Leverage Cartagena, Construyendo con el Agua. And especially also in the Latin American culture, you see the importance of the personal connections and also the spiritual values that water bring to the table. And that really inspires me when I'm in Colombia working with the city of Cartagena and its communities in telling that story, and also involving experts, not only from a technical perspective, but broadening that story into something that is more than technical and touches upon, well, something that's very close to all of us, and for which we are going to need film, communication, in connecting to way more people outside these standard silos of technical solutions that we usually work with. So I'm very happy to be here. Robert, also thank you for launching this important film festival and all the activities associated with it, because I think many people, over 6,000 delegates that are currently in New York, should take this into account when they leave the city in a few days again back to their normal working environments. And we need to transcend the boundaries that maybe limit us in our daily work, and use each other's capacities and strengths to really move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, Robert. So Candelaria, you're also in New York for New York Water Week and the UN Water Conference. Tell us about your work at WaterAid and what you're doing here in New York.
Yes, thank you for participating in WaterAid in this space. We're here in New York presenting what WaterAid Colombia is doing with a lot of partners, but especially with the indigenous people from La Guajira, the northern point of South America. And we are talking about the importance of not only data, but also information and how to translate that into an inclusive way of approaching that so that it turns into knowledge and then into action, which is probably the key point of what we're trying to achieve, right? Change, action, inclusive dialogue. So we're here, we're exciting, and we are ensuring that the voices of the indigenous that we work with are being heard.
Thank you. Kaira, you're in Puerto Rico, where it's a lot warmer than it is here in New York. Tell us about your work at Syracuse and with your program with water quality in Las CURIAS.
Thank you, Robert. I am a program manager at Syracuse University Environmental Finance Center. And the approach that we work with communities is to present ourselves and see if they are in need of us. If they're not, we're not invited, we're not going. So whenever we see a community that want to work their base and take decisions with themselves, with enough autonomy to move the decision-making down top, so we are going to be there supporting from the academy environment. So our work in Las CURIAS is a beautiful work that is already started last year. And if I start saying semester, it's because of the academic calendar that we are so used to. So last semester, we start working with Las CURIAS community leaders that took matters on their own hand in protecting the well-being of the lake. So we want to, more than filming our work, is their work and how the community has been empowering themselves and finding resources to improve the quality of the lake and remove the invasive species that took over and limit their livelihood. So we are there, and the importance of raising their voices is that communities are resistant, and more than resilience, they are resistant. They resist changes and problems and changes in power plays. So we want to uplift them so they are the protagonists of their own stories.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm already wanting to ask you questions, but I want to wait until we have a chance to hear from Roberto. Roberto, hello, welcome. So happy that you're here with us today. Tell us about yourself. We know that you're a filmmaker. We know that you made a beautiful film, MAPU KUTRAN, but tell us a little bit more about the world of Roberto Urzúa. Oh, you're muted. Oh.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Mari Peñi, Mari Lamien, Inche Roberto Piñen. That's hello to everyone. I am Roberto from Chile. I am not Mapuche, that it's one of our First Nations in Chile and Argentina, but I have a really close relation with them. And that's why exploring this movie MAPU KUTRAN. I knew different people from the communities here, and I have learned a lot of their relationship with not only water, but every element in the nature. So even a rock for them, it has its own guardian spirit. They call Nyen to them. So I'm very happy because this movie that I made, MAPU KUTRAN, has traveled all around the world and different festivals, and now in Chile it has been difficult to show it. So we are organizing like shows at parks and places where everyone can see the movie. Today we are showing it with the presence of a machi, that it's like a doctor, Mapuche doctor or healer. So just to tell a little bit about MAPU KUTRAN, it's illness. It's a disease that attacks people, that disrespects sacred places. If you take, I don't know, a lot of resources of some place and you don't ask for permission, or you make a ofrenda, like something to give to the earth, you get sick, like physically, and the only way to get over it is to reward the earth. I don't know what's the translation, but it's like we say ofrenda. We offer to the land, to the earth, like a payment. You know, it's like it's a way to give back to the earth what you have done. So this movie, it's only with aerial images. It's all made by drone, and it talks about like my own personal vision of how I look my country, my territory, and what we have done, because we live like in a very extractivist system. In the south, we have the trees, I mean all the forest companies, and in the north, we have the mines. So that's one of the themes of my next movie, like the mining companies in the north and how they have made complete towns absolutely dry. Like, so I'm very happy to be here, and I want to hear all of you also.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Kaira, you mentioned invasive species. Does that include human beings, or did you mean something else?
Both. No. So the story for this case is we have water bodies in Puerto Rico, and as an island located in the middle of the Caribbean, if you see, this is a sticker pointing out Puerto Rico, we have a lot of endemism and native species. So anything that comes from the outside take over, because we don't have natural deep predators, and it's a very good environment for things to grow. So we have a relationship with US, and is sort of a colony relationship with them. We can go into debate another day, because it's so many years of debate, but they decided that they wanted to see aquatic plants on lake to make it prettier. So they brought some species from the south of Brazil to make it more colorful. So it took over, and that aquatic plant took over the lake, and a lot of eutrophication thing happening. So the community lost their water to this plant that took completely over. So you didn't know if it's a lake, it looked like a field. So the community started raising their voices, asking for assistance and how to remove all that plants. And they contacted few universities and came up with the solution to have a beetle that can eat the Salvinia molesta. That's the name of the plant. And it's so funny because the name is molesta, and in Spanish is that it bothers. So this beetle, Bogus salvinia, only eat that plant. So the community managed to make some collaboration with other universities in Puerto Rico and the US to find a solution that doesn't require that much of machinery and other things or pesticides that can actually affect the lake. So the community decided, and it's very important to say, it's the community who looked for the solutions and made it happen. And maybe they created the space and other solutions to keep working with the constant problem, because the lake is full of nutrients of non-point source pollution around the lake, mostly by septic tanks. So it's a continuous problem that have many layers to work with, but the community is getting more information, and they are educating themselves on how to take their lake back.
Was the decision to add those plants, like to make it more beautiful, was that to attract tourists? Did someone just want more color because they like color? Like, what was the decision to bring these Brazilian plants?
Oh, so there's many theories in place, but it's a common practice that we have been experiencing since the 1898. So it's very weird, the perspective of we didn't have a natural prey bird. So when we were a colony from Spain, they decided to bring one from Cuba because for the cattle that they were bringing, and the same with sugarcane. We have a problem with a bug eating that. So US brought frogs, and the frogs didn't have the solution. So they bring the mongoose to eat the frog that was supposed to eat the insects. So at the end, we have 3 different species that did not resolve the problem and became an invasive species to a very delicate ecosystem in Puerto Rico.
So in your film, I love that you state that when one community inspires another, that's a really powerful tool. And it sounds like your community has definitely demonstrated that. Robert, talk about in your film in Water's Leverage Cartagena, how people are moving to this region, why they're moving there, and what the issues are around moving there, and how is one community, I don't know, is it the Dutch community, is it the local community? How are they inspiring each other to look for the solution?
No, I think both stories that were just shared by the other participants are very well connected also to what we are doing together with our Colombian partners in the city of Cartagena. Because what you see is that, well, my personal perspective is also 10 years ago, we would say, well, you have a water issue, bring in the Dutch. I think what we see now is that the real experts are often those people that are facing the water-related challenges on a daily basis. So the importance of incorporating community knowledge is huge, because I think using and leveraging international partnerships like with Dutch and international stakeholders through partnership with local communities and local governments, and ensuring that their knowledge is also taken into account when developing solutions for water-related challenges is of key importance. And that's also why I find the story about MAPU KUTRAN so inspiring, because we, like I said in the beginning, we moved away from seeing water-related challenges as a technical issue only into something that's way more spiritual, is way more connected to the hearts and minds of people. And that's also where the solutions need to come from, not only from the minds of the people, but needs to come from the heart. And that's mainly connected also to a sense of ownership of the environment, but also a sense of ownership in terms of international stakeholders and partners, assisting, cooperating with local people to make solutions happen. And that's basically also the main reason why we have activities like Water's Leverage Cartagena in place. It's about valuing water, and that's why these perspectives are so important, and the communicated aspect of it, and the telling the stories, telling the importance of water-related situations, like for example a big swamp area, of which is the main theme of the movie we submitted to the World Water Film Festival, is so important to tell, because what that film is about is it's showing how the daily life of people has changed. A local fisherman, an artisanal fisherman, is telling how they used to be able to, well, have like 10-20 kilos a day of fish, and it has decreased significantly, affecting their livelihoods, making life in the Ciénaga de la Virgen in Cartagena more difficult. And other challenges are, well, what you also see is that cities are places where challenges come together. We face urbanization, we face influxes of migrants, for example, due to the conflicts in neighboring countries. And that's also the case in Cartagena. You see a big influx of migrants to Cartagena from Venezuela. And they need a place to live. And because the swamp area is, well, it's one of the stratos bajos, so it's one of the more challenging areas in the city of Cartagena, but that's basically the only place they can go to. You see encroachments, but not because those migrants like to encroach a swamp, it's because there's nowhere else to go for them. So water-related challenges are not only about water, they're about social issues, they're about environment, they're about finance. And that's why it's so key to bring together different participants, different stakeholders, but definitely also include communities, because their sense of ownership of those water-related issues is the biggest, because when they open their front door, they are facing those issues that like policymakers or governments only sometimes tend to talk about. But to make it a vivid and lively discussion towards finding the right type of solution is really important to involve them and incorporate their knowledge in defining the solutions, which is also the main premise of Water as Leverage as a program and as a methodology, to make sure that the solution that you develop work and start to value water again, as we should, basically.
Thank you, Robert. You referenced community knowledge, which is a great segue over to you, Candelaria, as a lot of what your film highlights, the indigenous knowledge and how it is actually shared to inspire. Can you touch upon that?
Absolutely. As you were saying, Robert, our film is about honoring ancestral knowledge and understanding it as cultural science, which can talk at the same level of technology and innovation to ensure sustainable solutions, and understanding that it's not either or, but the conversation among both, amongst technology, amongst cultural science, and amongst the common language of the need to solve the water issue. In the film, we highlight Isolina's story, a Wayuu leader who is at the forefront of these solutions. And the intention is to ensure that what's happening at the local level is being heard. And we are sometimes always talking to the same people, to the convinced people that know that this is an issue and are like supporting solving it. We're also trying to talk sometimes to the detractor or the middle one, like the movable middle of the citizenship that do not know the problem or just heard about it, but we need to find ways into humanize data and show it in a different way, a way that will capture their attention, that will touch their hearts and will, wake them up. So that's also the strategy here with the film, to make sure that Isolina's story is being heard in a way that it's understood, and to ensure that the work that they are doing in collaboration with a lot of people is being highlighted. And we think film has been an incredible and powerful tool to do that. And I think it touches upon a lot of what you were also talking, right? Not only doing it for those who need to hear, but also doing it for those who are the protagonists of their stories, which sometimes feel that long technical documents are alien to them because they don't even speak the language. So how can we connect with the speakers in a way that they feel comfortable? And how better to do that with a simple camera that is not intimidating to them, but actually they feel, protagonists. So yeah, that's the way that we're doing it.
No, and it is beautifully done. I want to switch over to Roberto for a moment. Speaking of cultural issues, I was really impressed, Roberto, on how you scored your film. You clearly made some very deliberate choices with the music that you chose. And for example, I noticed in the beginning of your film, where you're just showing the land without any human, and you're talking about the ancestral, that music feels, I felt like I was being transported. And the moment you touch upon Europeans coming in, it switches to piano music. So you've introduced piano music when you're talking about Europeans. And then when you show the deforestation, to me, it sounded like sad clown music. Like a sad clown is messing with this environment and failing. Were those music choices deliberate?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. When we start making the music, I divide the movie like in chapters. I think it was a way to be clear with the artist to get an order. So, like as you said, the first part, the first chapter is no humans. The music is not really Mapuche. They use different instruments, but the thing that I want to transmit with the music, it was like the sound of the gutters of the earth, like how would sound the earth, you know, like this deep and powerful voice. And then the humans start like populating everything. Yeah, the piano, I think I didn't thought about it since now, like the piano and Europe civilization, but makes sense. And it was, yeah, there was a trouble in all the music, starting with no humans, then the humans, then this industry that is a thermoelectrical plant, I don't know the translation. With industrial music and this kind electronic music.
Yes, at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, at the end. And it was a really nice work. I love the music of the movie. And the musician is like I don't know how to say it, but he plays a lot of different music. He can play a piano composition and then electronic music, and he plays as a DJ in electronic parties. So he's like very eclectical, you know.
You mentioned in your film, Roberto, that at some point we dance while we see our world falling apart.
Yeah.
And my question for all of you, when you think about the power of film to translate the stories of the solutions to water crises and issues, do you think film can serve as a choreographer to help reteach humans a new dance to embrace water and be water champion?
Yeah, I just want to say a little, but one of the things that I always do with when I show the movie, it's like open the mic and people can talk. And it's been very challenging for me because I was afraid to talk in public at the beginning. And people in Chile, I think they're kind of shy to talk in public, you know. I don't know if it's Chilean or everywhere, but the thing is I noticed that my objective with this movie was this, like people talk, people communicate, know your neighbors, I don't know, make communities, because every time we show and we talk about the movie after, we stop the individualism that we live, like everyone go to our job and get back and we don't speak with anyone. I don't know, it's kind of this system. And when we stop this individualism, we start collectivism. And I think it's one of the responses that you are like heading of. with this question, you know, because we can do it alone, but when we get together, we can make changes.
Yeah, if I might jump in, because I think that's exactly also what we try to do in practice, and what should be done in practice, bringing together all those passions and individual experiences and expertise, and mix it together into and turn it into a real impact on the ground. And I think no one can do it alone. And that sounds a bit cheesy, but I think it's basically what we learned from your movie as well, but also what we see in practice. And it's more than just your 9-to-5 job. It's really something many people are so passionate about, including myself, and translating that passion into partnerships, into new friends, and using those friendships for the impact in cities, in ecosystems, is really very rewarding. And I think film and telling stories is also a platform to create those connections, and also to show, for example, here in New York, the stories from Chile, the stories from Colombia, is so important because, like I said, there are 6,000 delegates talking about this important topic. But if you look outside the window, I'm in an office now seeing the Hudson River and the World Trade Center, but I'm not seeing what those communities in Colombia and Puerto Rico and Chile are facing every day. But the people deciding here in New York should know what's happening on the ground, because they're having an impact. And just the same way, film can be used to make sure those communities from all those countries have an impact in those large-scale discussions taking place here in New York. So that's the importance of communication, the importance of film, and that's also why it's so important to have a platform like this connected to a week like this here in New York of the United Nations World Water Conference.
Yeah, going to your question, Robert, we've seen that the issue of water requires communities to appropriate of the solutions and to ensure that their legacy continues. And we think that film has the power to do so. The power of storytelling to ensure legacy continues and without actually needing the words. So the connection that film can create goes beyond words and touches upon emotions directly, which are the drivers for change and action. So we have seen the power that filmmaking can have to continue legacy and honor ancestral knowledge and culture.
So, go ahead.
No, I want to add that it's a platform that connects people to learn from each other, to reclaim the narrative and put all the flavors you need to do to create something new and show that it works, so others can also adapt them and believe in their power.
It is a wonderful tool to explain how people approach problems and solutions. And sometimes the solutions are not obvious, which is probably why, Robert, you have your job with water as leverage in the Dutch government, and you, Candelaria, WaterAid, and you, Kaira, and you, Roberto, taking it upon yourself to give yourself the job of filmmaker to communicate these things. It's so important. I recently discovered that I have my own water contamination issue. I live in an old New York City apartment building, and there was work being done. They changed the water tank on the roof of my apartment building. And when they did, water was coming out brown and disgusting and gross and leaving grimy films in my sinks. And, the building owner, I requested that they test the water, and they said, no, you're on your own if you want to test the water. They didn't know that I was producing a film festival about water and know some people in water. So I had my water tested. And I discovered that I have an unsafe level of copper and lead in my water. And in trying to discover what would trigger the building owner to be required to do something is not an easy decision. It turns out, according to the Environmental Protection Agency, that we would have to retest, and I believe if up to 10% of the apartments tested fail, that would then trigger a requirement to have to do something. But until that threshold is met, I'm on my own to do my own, which is sort of frustrating. So did you experience when you first set out on your creative projects, did you experience people feeling like they were on their own, and did they realize that maybe they weren't, that there were communities that could support them to discover a solution? Why don't you
Yeah.
go take that one first, Kaira? Yes.
Yes, I think that two main events, one not related with my work, and that's the island of Vieques, removing the Navy, the US Navy from the island in 2000. There was a big win of the people, because if they didn't do it by themselves, that will not happen. So that was a big example of a civil movement. The second one that have directly impacted our life and work is Hurricane Maria in 2017, where many people were isolated. Assistance and help did not arrive until many days after, and the island was without electric energy for months. I'm talking about 6 months, 8 months, or more than a year in some parts. So people were definitely on their own, and their neighbors, the community, were the ones that joined strength and forces to actually survive and slowly thrive to new challenges, because with climate change, these natural disasters are going to keep coming. So it's about finding ways to resist and work together.
Robert, did you want to, you look like you wanted to chime in on that question as well.
No, I think things that have a big impact can start really small, and that's also what I saw in Cartagena, which is like something we initiated with. I initiated also with a colleague, and there were a lot of people who didn't believe this was going to work, and that people would be enthusiastic about it. And it's growing and growing, and people now start to see it as something they want to be connected to, that they want to be participating in. And especially also the fishermen from the video that I was telling you about, those community representatives also see hope, and also how water can be, well, a driver for positive change in their communities. And I think those kind of stories are very motivating also. Well, if you have to go through a lot of bureaucracy at your own organization, or if you're facing other types of challenges, that those people that are also enthusiastic about what you're doing, and that you can make a difference through something that started small but that's growing bigger and bigger. And well, that's the type of story you also want to tell, because then it will attract even more people that are intrinsically enthusiastic about this topic and passionate about making a positive change for water.
Candelaria, you had referenced at first, it seemed like you needed to film in a certain way so people would feel comfortable. Is that what I heard? How did you warm the community to want to come together to be a participant, an active participant in your film project?
Yeah, I actually think it starts with showing them that they are not alone in this. The protagonist herself, Isolina, we took her to the water conference in Stockholm last year. She was in awe that there were other people in the world like her that were suffering from the water issue, particularly lack of water. She thought she was alone in La Guajira with this issue. So for her, opening her eyes to the bigger problem, or like that she's not alone, was also a driver to want to make noise, right? And so that was also part of like how she convinced the community to open up to film this. And it sometimes when we go in with the cameras and the microphones and all the equipment, communities are a bit shy. They don't understand what that is, but then you give the equipment to them and they are just very excited. They can't believe how it works, what it creates, to see themselves in a screen. So it takes one person to convince the whole crowd, and it was the same with making them participate and wanting to participate in this film. Once you explain to them and you give them the equipment, it just flows along. They're very excited and they don't want you to leave, actually. But yeah, for them, seeing their faces in a screen, it just changes the narrative, as Kaira was saying. It's like, okay, we are now the protagonists. And for them, that's unique and not something that happens usually.
So here's a question for all of you. So we want to make our World Water Film Festival an annual event. And we will probably start taking submissions in July for World Water Film Festival 2024. What would each of you say to a filmmaker who's thinking about exploring water, other than make a movie about water? What would you say to them to consider? What's an important part of storytelling that you would tell another filmmaker to think about based on your experiences with the films that have been created so far by you and your organizations? Any one of you can take that question.
I think that you have to love your work like very much. I don't know. I spent 4 years doing this movie, like not knowing that I was going to make a movie, because I just love to shoot from the drone. So everywhere I went, I took the drone. Like it was another. It was part of the family. It was another member. So I had the possibility to shoot in a lagoon that is near to Santiago, that I knew that it was drying up. So I went there on 2017.
Yeah.
And then I got stuck in the town near to this lagoon in pandemic. I was staying there with my girlfriend family, and the only thing that we could do on the day was like traveling through the towns and all that part of Chile that is like a campo, we say. It's like I don't know, like a place where they country, yeah, all the countryside where all the people plant their food and all their other plants, and the lagoon got dry, like absolutely dry. It was a desert.
For those who are watching this, or wherever where it lives, if you haven't seen MAPU KUTRAN, the scene Roberto is talking about is so amazing. I mean, literally from 2017 to 2020, an entire lake has disappeared. And to see this dried, cracked lake bed, it's important that we engage citizens, obviously, to watch this, but my hope is that policymakers who are allowing decisions to be made see these films too and start to think about the weight of the decisions that they make on behalf of the populations they serve. It's of critical importance. I'm really hopeful that this collection, at least in our first year, the films and having this focused lens on storytelling, highlighting water issues across Latin America has been a benefit to all of you and all of you watching this live stream. We invite you to tune into the World Water Film Festival, Online Film Festival through the 26th. And then we'll be posting some of these films on our YouTube channel as well, to Live Beyond, and we'll link to the respective YouTube accessible videos that are on here. I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you for your commitment to water. And I'll ask you in one last question as we close. Henk Ovink, who is the lead behind the UN Water Conference here in New York this week, made opening remarks at our film festival on Sunday. And one of the things that he commented on was that, we work really hard, and then the conference is over, and then it's Monday morning, and we go back to doing all of our emails, and that we have a lot to do, and we're getting caught up on things we didn't respond to because we were at a conference. And his fear is that we realized that the emphasis that we were working on was on a conference and not water. That was his biggest fear. So to all of you, what are your plans for next Monday? What will you continue to do to fight and advocate for water? What's next on your radar to accomplish? I'll start with Robert, and we'll go Candelaria, and then we'll go Kaira and Roberto. Robert?
Well, I think this week is also a lot about the challenges we face related to water, but I think my work on how water can be an opportunity is going to continue, and also a leverage for positive change in city landscapes and in other landscapes. I think that's a story that needs to be told, and which I will be committed on from Monday onwards, and definitely also something that we should take back to the next version of the World Water Film Festival.
Thank you. Candelaria?
I'm gonna go back to Riohacha, La Guajira, where I live close to the communities, to ensure that we continue bridging the gap, to make sure that what I've heard here is shared with them, and to actually see how what we've heard and saw can be connected to create change. So continuing bridging the gap and ensuring that they are also connected to what's happening. We need to diversify the conversation and bring different perspectives. So I commit to engaging with that.
Thank you. Kaira, other than finishing your movie, what are you going to be working on Monday?
So in Puerto Rico, there are 240 communities that are not connected to the water utilities. So they manage their own water. And lately, in the last 2 decades, it's women. So I'm making a conversatory with all the women working in their community aqueducts to share ideas and lesson learned. So I'm very excited about this one. It's happening next Friday, not this Friday, the other Friday in Calle, Puerto Rico. So the conversation continues.
Well, I will make sure that we follow up on that. We actually had on Sunday a 4-hour summit of women in water, energy, and film meet, so that the women of water and energy can meet their sisters in film. And we plan to collaborate on creating some new content about women in water, energy, and film for 2024. So I will look forward to hearing more about that from you. Roberto, what are you going to be doing on Monday?
I'm working on a new movie. No, I just started writing it, but it's about a llama or llama. I don't know. I think you say llama, the animal.
Yep.
A herder that lives in the north of Chile, and she struggles with having them food and having them water because the mining companies have closed the roads.
Well, I think I'm going to say to that, I'll pack on my bags and maybe come visit you. That was a bad joke. I'm sorry. I couldn't resist Marisa. We will begin to work plans on our 2024 film festival. Thank you all for being here with us today. Appreciate you all very much and your commitment to water, and look forward to connecting with you again soon.